The Charlotte Hornets are simply the story of the NBA season and so much more on NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night, tipping off now.
You are locked on NBA Game Night, every game, every night. What's up, guys? I'm Gavin Schall. I'm your host and the host of the Locked On Knicks podcast. Joining me after a 2-week hiatus, it is Kon Knueppel, the fantastic host of the Locked On Pistons podcast. And we are both back to break down another thrilling night of hoops in the association. A big Hornets win following a string of big Hornets wins. They are now the hottest team in the NBA. We're going to dive deep on how that has come together. The Houston Rockets hold on after another incredible Cooper Flag game and a frenetic Mavs comeback. And Joel Embiid, a 40-point game. Is he officially back? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Bunch of other close games. Bunch of fun ones. We're going to get into it all. But first, we want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Koo, I think any other night we'd be starting this one off with the Houston Rockets getting a much-needed win. The Dallas Mavericks have been playing super well. Cooper Flag has another great game. But I think we have to appreciate our friends, smaller market, Charlotte Hornets. Don't get a lot of national pub until the last 2 weeks where they've led every NBA podcast in the world. And they're going to continue to, if they play like this, as they hold on for incredibly hard-fought 111-106 win over the San Antonio Spurs to kick off our day. What did you see from Charlotte in this one? What have you seen from Charlotte in general over this stretch where they have the NBA's best net rating over the last 10 games?
Yeah, man. I mean, we can get even deeper into it. You go over the last 20 games. Would you have guessed that they would have the second best net rating over a 20-game sample at any point in the season? Or the
Crazy.
same 20-game sample, they're first in offense. Like, this is crazy. Eighth in defense as well. I think by far watching them, and this was a big test. I was really looking forward to seeing them play this game because this is against a really good San Antonio team and a healthy Victor Wembanyama. I was looking forward to seeing, can they continue this success against them? And they played very well against Victor. They made life a living you-know-what for him all throughout the night. And then offensively, they just kept doing what they've been doing. I think one of the best stories of the NBA season so far is just finally getting able to see the Charlotte Hornets healthy. I know there's been other things that have went on with this team over the last few years. It's not all just about health, but health has been a big part of it. They haven't had their guys healthy for long stretches of games for a long time. And it feels like this is the first time we've actually been able to see LaMelo, Kon, and Brandon Miller all be healthy. Obviously, Kon's a rookie, but LaMelo and Brandon Miller even be healthy together long enough. And they've been absolutely tremendous. I've loved seeing LaMelo contribute to winning basketball. The offense is so much better when he's on the floor. It's been a lot of fun to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing how much farther they can go. I was talking with one of my friends earlier, and it's giving me a reminder of like the 2014 season when the Pistons released Josh Smith and they had the worst record in the NBA. I believe they were 5-23, and then they won like 13 straight or something. And it capped off with that game winner from Brandon Jennings against the Spurs. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, are the Pistons here?" So hopefully this one goes a little bit better than that one did for the Pistons. But I'm really liking what we're seeing from Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw some numbers at you because some of the stats this
They're
week
crazy.
were just outrageous. Before the Mavs game earlier this week, the Hornets had won 6 road games by 15 plus points in a row, in which only at least this millennia, the 2001 two Lakers had done and the 2011
Right.
Heat had done. That's cool. You know, it's a little cooler. The Hornets finished January tied with the 2010-11 Heatles for the best road differential in a calendar month in NBA history at plus 151.
Dude.
This is a team full of guys that theoretically, like, they're younger than some of the dudes, like, still playing like college basketball now. It's absolutely insane. A lineup featuring, to your point, 4 of those young guys. I mean, Miles Bridges is even youngish. LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Kon Knueppel, Miles Bridges, Diabate, the Killer Bees lineup boasts the best net rating of any lineup with at least 200 possessions in the entire NBA. I looked earlier, they're like plus 35 or something
My goodness.
for 100 possessions. It is just crazy. I want to circle back, and we'll get into like a little bit of the game recap before we actually finish up this segment. But I want to circle back on the Wembanyama point. They hold him again. Charlotte, a team that you remember the Cat game like a few years ago. Obviously, the Hornets won that game, but like they were the kind of team you set career highs against. And Wemby in this game, 16 points, 6 of 15 shooting, 8 rebounds. I want to highlight Moussa Diabate, who I think has been just the unsung hero of this coming into the year. The biggest question about Charlotte was it was similar to Boston, where it's like, okay, they have no bigs. Like, I don't know if anything else matters. And Ryan Kalkbrenner has been amazing as a rookie, but Diabate is really what's clicked in this 20-game stretch where you said it, they played about as well as anyone in the NBA. I mean, his ability to be hyper switchable, to like just hold up against someone like Wemby, like the play that stood out to me. And right before this, he swatted Steph Castle in transition, and that was sick. With under 5 minutes to go, slides his feet with Wemby, gets into his chest. Like, I think taking notes from the way Julius Randle defended him in that recent Timberwolves win over the Spurs. Like, you just don't give him room to dribble, and you take advantage of the fact like that is the one way you can make a guy who's 7'6" hurt, right? Because their dribble inherently is going to be kind of high. You get into their chest, doesn't give him room to to rise and fire, hit that signature mid-range, forces him to take like a near blind leaner. Wemby misses it badly. On the offensive end, beat him for 2 offensive rebounds, one where he just got like low and muscled him out of the way, and Wemby just had to foul him to prevent an easy putback layup. I mean, and then like another crazy tip, and where Wemby contested, still almost recovered to get it. That one almost put the game away with 2 minutes left to make it 106-102. He was fantastic in this one, and I think he's been the glue when all the focus has been obviously deservedly on LaMelo, on Brandon Miller with 26 in this one, and Kon Knueppel, who made some big shots late in this game.
Yeah, I think another thing I want to bring up is that I feel like at the beginning of this year, their head coach, Charles Lee, was getting some fire from like people. I don't want to feel like it was really people inside of Charlotte. It felt like people outside of Charlotte were like going after him. Oh, he's bringing LaMelo off the bench. What's happening? Oh, this team isn't good. Do they get the right? Like, he was getting a lot of arrows. And I don't know if you saw their post game video they posted on Twitter of them celebrating the locker room. These guys were like chest bumping them. They're knocking them over. They're celebrating. They're going crazy. So there are some things like bringing LaMelo off the bench to try and make it to where they can play him late was a little unorthodox. But I don't know how you can look at how they're playing now and where he's gotten them to and question the process. The process that he took them through obviously worked. And they're all seemingly loving to play for him. They're all loving playing together. This is fun basketball in Charlotte. I think this is probably the most fun they've had in Charlotte in a very, very long time.
Yeah, it is like such a gift, and like what fan base is more deserving? Like the Hornets fans have always been incredible, at least from what I've seen. Like some of the more knowledgeable in the NBA, like really, really funny, self-deprecating group as you kind of have to be with how poorly they've been. As a Knicks fan, I've obviously been there, so I'm not punching down when I say that. But my goodness, do they absolutely deserve this? Colin Sexton, like also a big part of this. Started this game 5 for 5 from 3. I think was 7 for 8 from the field, 21 points. Hit a 3 to put them up 93-81 early in the quarter. I thought Kon on both ends, like his ability to guard Steph Castle, even though he didn't have a great offensive game, like he's just like quick enough feet, strong enough to wall up, like, which isn't to say like he never gets beat, but like that was supposed to be the area, like when they drafted him, I think where people side-eyed that pick, that like, oh, this is a guy who's like another guy who's barbecue chicken on defense, and that just has him in the case. Super solid as a rebounder, flew in for that last rebound to secure the win after Wemby previously got an offensive rebound. Spurs had 2 chances to potentially like tie the game with 3s in the final seconds. Give the Spurs some credit. Super spirited run to get back into it. Like I loved Castle taking that step back 3 that cut it to 6. Like that is obviously the weakness in his game. In the playoffs, they're going to see a lot of ghost coverage on him. Teams treating him like Josh Hart and the Knicks, daring him to shoot, and his willingness to like embrace that and fire them is going to be big, assuming he's not a Milwaukee Buck in a week or so. De'Aaron Fox late in this game, a couple big layups, had the one miss late, some few inexplicable moments for the Spurs. One, Wemby going for the 2-for-1 with 26 seconds left. I didn't really like, missed a deep 3. And then they let 15 seconds off the clock before fouling. Like either you're playing it out and you're trying to get a rebound, get a timeout with 3 seconds left for a last second 3, or you're fouling right away. Rare mistake for the Spurs, who are generally very good in clutch games. Hornets have struggled in clutch games all year, so this was just a massive win. Another step, still fighting for the play-in, but a team crew, if they sneak into the playoffs, I imagine like you're not super excited, as I'm talking to the right person, as the Detroit Pistons, to see this Hornets team in the first round.
No, yeah, I don't think anyone really wants to play. I mean, the last 20 games, they've been arguably the best team in basketball. So it's like, who knows where they'll be at in a few months.
I mean, we will see. If nothing else, an incredibly fun watch with an incredibly bright future and a chance at the trade deadline to accelerate that timeline if they want to. But a team that is all about the right now, the Houston Rockets, just barely holding on against the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about it next right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, we got to tell you about our good friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. If I pull up the Game Time app, I can pick an upcoming NBA game and have tickets locked in within minutes. I love seeing the all-in prices up front. Very few things in this life frustrate me. Like, you could be buying a group of tickets for 5 or 6 friends. It's someone's birthday. You're trying to get nice seats. It can jump $300 when you actually go to checkout, and that is infuriating. Doesn't happen with Game Time. No surprise fees at checkout, and you're able to see the view from your seat before you buy, making the decision super duper easy. It's such a great last minute option. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's GameTime.co, not .com. All right. Before we continue rolling, we got to tell you with the NBA trade deadline basically here, we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord for just Knicks fans, Pistons fans, Hornets fans. Insert your team. We have all of them, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the NBA. You also get ad-free versions of this show, and if you sign up for the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use code DEADLINE to get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, we got to talk Rockets, Mavs. Mavs have been playing really good basketball of late. Coup, fantastic defense that showed up again in this one. They absolutely smothered Kevin Durant. He also just had a really poor shooting game. He certainly played a part in that. Cooper Flag, incredible again, but it was the Rockets led by an Alperen Şengün short roll lob to Amen Thompson late, and then Şengün just going downhill, bullying Max Christie on a switch, getting a layup as they just barely escape in this one.
Yeah, this game was probably the game I had the most fun watching all day. This was a very back and forth game. Cooper Flag had some crazy moves down the stretch. He had one hesitation on the right wing that just completely froze. I forget who it was that was guarding him, but completely froze him. Got all the way to the basket. He had a few other really tough finishes. Like in the fourth quarter, especially like in the final 5 minutes, he just wasn't even passing. It wasn't even on like no ball hog stuff. It was on some, I'm getting to where I want to get to literally every single possession, and you guys aren't going to be able to stop me. He had one, he drove down the middle of the floor, got to the basket, and had to switch to his left hand and just lays it right in. A finish that would be tough for anybody else. He just made it look super easy. I mean, he was going crazy at the end of this game, just trying his best to keep the Dallas Mavericks in it. They ended up losing the game. But this is not back-to-back games I've seen from Cooper where he's just like, again, it feels like he's taking over the game. Like he got this look in his eye. I was like, "Oh my God, is that LeBron? Like, what am I watching?" It was crazy. He was spectacular late. Give credit to Houston for pulling it out. But man, I have to believe that the story of the game is how good Cooper looked.
All right, well, let's hear it from Nick Angstad. I can't imagine he disagrees with a lot of what you said.
Cooper Flag, absolutely him. Once again, showing off everything he's got in the bag against the Houston Rockets. Just came down to the wire. Fought back to make it a clutch game. When the Mavericks were down by 13, they were down by 11 in the fourth quarter. The Mavs fought all the way back to tie it up at 107 at the very end of the game. And then just a couple of classic mistakes from a young team. You had the Max Christie gets switched on to Alperen Şengün. The Mavs don't send help, and then Şengün gets a real easy bucket at the rim. You had Flag drive into a bunch of contact and then didn't get the foul, and then stays down on the floor. And then the Mavs are over trying to foul Kevin Durant. They triple team him, and then Tari Eason is wide open under the basket, and that was a huge mistake from the Mavericks. But just some absolutely great play from Cooper Flag. I mean, just 34 points, 12 boards, 5 assists. He was on display, basically everything in his bag. All the little shots at the rim, the bunnies, the floaters, the little things he's got going. The touch is just absolutely incredible from Cooper Flag. He was amazing in this game. 34 points, played just about 39 minutes in this one as well. And Daniel Gafford deserves a lot of praise for this game. 16 points, 11 boards. We've been talking about him a lot this season because he hasn't looked like himself. But in this game, some really springy putbacks where he's just dunking the ball, putting the ball back up, like catching the ball midair and putting the ball up midair. That's just hops, and that's springiness and athleticism we haven't seen from Daniel Gafford. So really good to see him get back into form.
On the Rockets side of things, I love the way I mentioned the two plays already, but they leveraged both Thompson and Şengün late. I mean, I don't really. It honestly reminded me of the Knicks playing the Pistons in the playoffs last year, where you have this like dominant on ball guy with a ton of gravity and KD, like fill him in for Cade, and he's coming off a screen, and you basically like you have to like have one guy hovering, second guy at the free throw line, like has to be there in case he like hesitates and drives, and he's holding him. And then you have like a playmaking big, Jalen Duren for the Pistons, Alperen Şengün for the Rockets on the short roll. They can catch. Your low man has to step up defensively. And then you have a Thompson brother, whether it's a Sar or a Men, waiting in the dunker spot to rise up 15 feet in the air and throw it home. And it's just an unfair play. And as a defense, like unless you just commit extra resources and leave someone wide open for a three, or you dare, whether it's Cade or Kevin Durant, to make an open shot, like there's just not a great way to guard that. And I love Ime Udoka going to that late in the game. And then that pick and roll between Thompson and Şengün, I might have just been impromptu, but like I think ballsy to go away from KD again. He was having a really rough night. Like that's so tricky to guard because Şengün, like as good at just like putting a smaller defender under the rim as almost any big in the NBA. And if you're Daniel Gafford in that situation, your temptation, right, is to jump across the block and try to swat that shot. But if you don't get that ball, even if you get a great contest on it, Thompson just as springy as any player in the NBA. He's going to get that putback layup. He's going to get that putback dunk. So it holds Gafford just because he's such a threat to go back and put that in. Really well played by Houston in like kind of their preferred style, which is just like brutal, ugly, effective basketball that's gotten a little tripped up now that Steven Adams is out for the year. It might be a season where it's just too many injuries for the Rockets, but this was a good win in what's been like a very up and down stretch for them.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad you point out how they were using Amen. This is something I've been begging and praying for with the SAR over in Detroit, but especially late. There was multiple possessions where Dallas was trying to hide a defender on Amen, and all they would do is they would get Amen involved in so many actions. They'd get him in the ball screen with Kevin Durant, have him sitting. They'd run some horns action, have Amen bring it up the floor, dump it to KD at the high post, set a screen. Now you got the switch on the KD, and KD's attacking this weaker defender. They try to attack on Amen. Now they have to bring two to KD. It opens up a 4-and-3 situation. There's times where, like you mentioned, they're running inverted pick and rolls, putting Amen on a pick and roll with, or him setting the screen for Şengün, which helps get him now downhill because big men don't know how to navigate screens. One of the things I love that Houston does with the Thompson brother is when teams try to hide defenders on them for not being a good shooter, that shouldn't be a win for the defense. There's ways you can scheme around that and force this guy that you're trying to hide on them into these actions that they don't know how to regularly guard, especially if it's a big man. And I feel like Houston did a very good job of this. If KD was hitting the shots tonight, I feel like it maybe would have been a bigger win for Houston. Like there's even one play, KD got to the mid-range right around the free throw line. It's coming off a pick and roll with Amen Thompson. The big man's naturally in a drop. He's not used to being in these type of actions, and KD just gets this easy pull-up midi. So I love how Houston uses the men and tries to take advantage when defenses try to hide defenders on them.
It's a great call. It's really creative. But speaking of talented big guys, Joel Embiid may be officially back, a 40-piece for the Philadelphia 76ers. The same day we get the news that Paul George is suspended for the next 25 games. Embiid steps up 13 of 27 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 11 of 14 from the line, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. I want to get into his night, but first let's hear from Mark Farzetta of Locked On Sixers for the local take.
Sixers fans needed a pick-me-up following the news of Paul George being suspended for 25 games for violating the league's drug policy. Joel Embiid came up huge in the final 4 minutes, scoring 7 of his game-high 40 points to beat the New Orleans Pelicans 124-114. Embiid has not scored 40 points in a game since that night he dropped 70 in a game 2 years ago. You also saw Jared McCabe stay hot from beyond the arc, knocking down 4 of his 6 3-point attempts. Tyrese Maxey, 18 points, 8 assists. Then you saw Kelly Oubre stepping up with 19 points and 10 rebounds. Sixers also notched their third straight home victory. They haven't done that in over a year. They'll look to keep it going now on the road. They have a 5-game road trip out on the West Coast beginning Monday night at 10 o'clock against the Clippers.
Cool. This was vintage Embiid, where it's offensive dominance from a center. Obviously, Nikola Jokic is there, but I go back to like Shaq, the way he does it, where it's different. But if you have someone who's too small for him, like the game is over before it starts. And the Pelicans, bless his heart, Derek Queen, incredibly bright future, but it looked like it was Joel Embiid's like much younger like cousin trying to guard him, and there was just no chance. Like he was shooting over him. He was going through him. There were plays where he would just discard Queen and someone else would be the low man and he would just go up and over them, like looked really quick. Like one time running like a ghost dribble handoff where it was a quarterback keeper, whatever you want to call it, where he just pivoted, went right to the rim, rising up over guys for jumpers. Like this was the full package, and it's continued to trend right over his last 7 games. 34 points, 9 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 53, 52, 85 splits. I know there are moments where it looks like he's 60 years old and he can't get off his feet, but by and large, statistically, that is peak Joel Embiid if he can keep up anything like that over the rest of the season.
I mean, would you believe me if I told you over his last 20 games, he's averaging near 30 points a game on 61 true shooting? This is now 20 games, man. Like this is, there was a point in this season where people were like, you gotta just accept it's over. It's he's past his prime. He's had too many injuries. It is what it is. We feel bad for him. And slowly but surely, he's just worked himself into the shape where it's like, should we be worried about the Sixers if you're in the East? Like he's been incredible.
I like that I'm 10 game or less sample size and you're 20 game sample size. So we've everyone covered on all facets, depending on what your criteria for like a solid statistical sample is. I totally agree with you. He's been exceptional. Like again, some of the physical stuff still concerns me. You have your questions about if he can stay healthy through 4 rounds, but Philly, you know what? They'll save $6 million in luxury tax in the Paul George thing. Sneakily, kind of a good thing for them. He's allows them to, at a minimum, keep their team together. At best, like maybe add something at the trade deadline, but a lot less pressure to trade Quentin Grimes, who I think is a really key piece for them. So that's important. Like maybe Daryl Morey gave Paul George whatever he took. I don't know. Just saying. We'll be back. We still have a bunch more games to get to next right here on NBA Game Night. But first, we got to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it all with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels just a little bit bigger. It's a perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, we're back to wrap up NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. It's always fun here on NBA Game Night. We're keeping this thing going with Heat Bulls, a bunch of other close games tonight. This one came down to the final minute before Chicago stretched out the lead, ultimately winning 125-118. Awesome finish to this game by Dosunmu and Modest Buzelis.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Did you see Yuki Kawamura in this game?
I missed him. He got in?
Bro, he won a jump ball in this game at 5'6". He won a jump ball. He hit 2 threes in this game. He was all over the place getting steals. I was rooting for him. He was my biggest takeaway from this game. Forget everything else. We have a 5'6" guy repping for all of us. You feel me? He was going crazy.
Dude, he hit some moments in Memphis. Anytime him and Zach Edey, I think it was mostly preseason, ran a pick and roll last year. That was must-watch TV for me. I was like, you have date night with your fiance, with your wife. You're saying, hey, honey, I can't go out. Yuki and Edey are running a pick and roll right now. Like this is too important. This is earth-shaking stuff. That was awesome. Unfortunately, the Bulls don't have a super tall guy to create that visual, but that's cool. I did not watch the full game. I did not realize he got in. That is awesome. I'm going to talk about what I saw, which was Dosunmu down the stretch of this one scores 13 straight over 4 possessions. Catch and shoot 3 off of Buzelis probe. Next play brings it up. Just a nasty move, similar to the Cooper Flag move you were describing earlier. Puts a lefty in and out into a cross on Norman Powell. Up and under around 3 defenders, including Bam. Misses the free throw, but no worries. Next possession, 28-footer, swishes it in. The Heat announcers are commenting on it. He's like a really like low pickup on his shot. It's almost like a set shot, but just effortlessly like it's arc and range. Beautiful shot. And then at like the tail end of this game, he like loses the jump ball predictably to Bam Adebayo. It was only a jump ball, but Spo doesn't get a timeout. And on the rebound, Bam wins the tip, but it goes right to Pat Williams. He shuffles it to Dosunmu. Dosunmu just throws it all the way down the court to Buzelis, streaking in for a layup. That put the Bulls up 2, a lead they would never give up the rest of the way. Buzelis gets a stop on Jaquez, and then Buzelis hits a dagger 3, making up for a night where he had 9 turnovers, and it was a really sloppy game for him. But fun finish for the Bulls in this one. They've won 6 of the last 4. For the Miami Heat perspective, though, I'm not going to leave it to me. Let's go to our buddy Wes, who is local, host of Locked On Heat. We'll see what he has to say.
No way around it. That's a bad loss for the Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg from Locked On Heat. Heat lose to the Bulls on Saturday night here. And look, it was a Bulls team that was without Josh Giddey, no Kobe White, no Nikola Vucevic, just down a bunch of guys. No Jalen Smith. They started Patrick Williams at center. And yet the Heat, sure, no Norm Powell, no Davion Mitchell, no Tyler Hero, but it's still a game at home that you should win. You have Bam Adebayo, he's the best player on the court, and Bam was very bad for the beginning of this game, very strong in the fourth quarter, and the Heat actually deserve a little bit of credit, I suppose, for trying to come back in the fourth quarter. They tied the game late, but ultimately it's the Bulls who get the win here. And for the Heat, it was an uncharacteristic lack of effort early in this game. They weren't chasing offensive boards. They weren't closing out defensively. They allowed the Chicago Bulls to shoot 50% from 3. The Heat did win the other 4 factors, right? They were better on the turnover battle, better at the free throw battle, better on the offensive glass, but it just felt like they didn't have the effort to defend at a high enough level that you typically associate with the Miami Heat. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the trade deadline coming up, but it does feel like this team is in need of a bit of a shakeup, or at least for the trade deadline to come and go, because for the last couple of games, they've seemed a little distracted, frankly, in a way that, again, not something that you would typically associate with the Miami Heat.
A Heat team that's been incredibly up and down throughout the year. Team that's been down for pretty much the whole season. The Indiana Pacers all of a sudden playing slightly better basketball as they've finally gotten basically their full rotation back. They've won 7 of their last 12 games after a 6-31 start to the season. Ku, I imagine a lot of it's similar to the Hornets. It's just health. But what have you seen from them of late? What did you see from them in this tight finish against the Atlanta Hawks that also came down to the final minute?
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers have some talented players on their team. I mean, when Pascal Siakam plays, they have a lot of times they have a chance to argue they have the best player on the floor. So he played in this game. He played very well. He was 11 of 15 from the floor. Nembhard continues to play extremely well. I've always liked watching Nembhard, a very tenacious guy on the court, 26 and 10, a very good game from him. I'm interested to see if they do end up trading Benedict Mathurin. It sounds like there's been some rumors about that. But when Pascal's playing, he's playing as well as he is. They do have some talent amongst their top-end guys and Nembhard, Siakam, and Naismith. So if a team doesn't take them seriously, this is the kind of night that can happen.
All right, let's go to Tony East for the full picture on this one.
On their flip on defense at halftime, 73 points allowed in the first half for the Pacers, who, of course, scored 80 themselves, but they gave up 51 in the second half to hold off the Hawks, even with their own offense dying. Rick Carlisle saying at halftime they didn't watch any film. Instead, he just said, we got to be more physical on defense, be personal about it, and they were. They were much better at keeping the Hawks out of the paint and slowing down Atlanta. They held a comfortable lead for much of the game, and their best 3 guys were all very good. Pascal Siakam, that guy right there, well over 20 points, hitting the dagger shot, a turnaround jumper in the lane, and Drew Nembhard, also terrific in this game, a double-double, scoring 20-plus points himself, and capping it off, Aaron Naismith was over 20 points. All 3 of them right behind me here at this poster in the arena. The team playing well. They've won 7 of 12 and beaten some at least halfway decent teams along the way, looking a little better. And that is the Pacers win. We'll have more on Locked On Pacers.
We always get great analysis from Tony. We very rarely get great videography, so that was awesome. Bravo to him. Doing it all to entertain Pacers fans in a rough season. Let's head over to Brad Rowland as the Hawks continue to struggle in the post-Trae Young era.
Hello, friends. My name is Brad Rowland, I'm the host of the Locked On Hawks podcast, and the Hawks have now lost back-to-back games after a 4-game winning streak. They threatened to get back to 500 on Thursday, ended up falling short, and this time they lose in Indiana in a close-fought game. Both teams were within 9 points of each other the entire way, so no team was in control, but for the most part, Indiana was leading in the second half. The Hawks made a couple of runs to get back within a 1-point game or a tie game, just could not get over the hump down the stretch. it was definitely a tale of two halves situation. And at the first half, both teams just scored at will. The Hawks gave up 80 points. Yes, 80 points in the first half. Second half, they actually got a lot of stops and played pretty well defensively, but the damage was kind of done, and then the offense gave way in the second half as well. Just not enough shot making down the stretch. The Hawks had one of their lowest three-point volume games of the season, just kind of an odd performance on the whole. They were lamented post-game by Quinn Snyder talking about their lack of, sharing the ball essentially and shot selection. It was kind of a mismatch. It wasn't a disastrous performance, and that the Pacers are playing better and they are healthier at this point. So it's not like they were losing to the zombie Pacers, but in the end, a game that the Hawks probably need to win, and they were not able to do so on this Saturday. We'll get into all the details and more on Locked On Hawks.
Hawks nearly made up a 7-point deficit yet late. Big three by Jalen Johnson to almost get them there. Just could not quite get over the top to win that game. We only have one more to go. The Minnesota Timberwolves, another convincing win. They're fourth in a row over the Memphis Grizzlies. Wire-to-wire win over the Oklahoma City Thunder earlier this week. They're all of a sudden playing really good basketball again.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of good performances tonight in this one. They got 33 from Anthony Edwards, 27 from Julius Randle, 20 from Nasri, 20 from Jay McDaniels, 9-16 from Rudy Gobert, and 11 from Dante DiVincenzo. A really good team effort. This is a Minnesota team that I think is very good. It feels like they will eventually at the end of the year be considering themselves title contenders. It certainly is what they're aiming for. They're starting to play a little better. They went through a little bit of a lull a few weeks ago, but they're starting to play a little bit better. Good way to get an easy win over the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant. So played really well. Hopefully they continue it going for all them Timberwolves fans.
Yeah, still missing that really consistent secondary ball handling. Obviously, Julius Randle gives you some of that. Ideally, it would come from a Mike Conley-sized guy who's not 80 years old like Mike Conley. We'll see if they can find that at the trade deadline. No shots at Mike Conley, one of my favorite players of all time. Let's hear from Ben Beacon for a little more on this one.
The Minnesota Timberwolves won their fourth straight game with a dominant 17-point win over an undermanned Memphis Grizzlies team on Saturday night. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast. This was a well-balanced attack from the Timberwolves in this one. Obviously, a lot of guys missing, of course, Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., among others for Memphis. But this Wolves team has lost games or played poorly against teams that they should beat many times this year. So to be up by 9 at the end of the first quarter, by 9 at halftime, by 18 going to the fourth quarter was certainly still an accomplishment for this Timberwolves team. And again, a well-balanced offensive attack. Really, several guys taking turns running the offense for Minnesota, or I should say really carrying the offense. 4 guys scoring 20 or more points in this game, including Anthony Edwards with 33 points. Took him 21 shots to do it, but he also got to the line 16 times in this game. Only made 1 3, but he was 14 of 16 at the free throw line. He shot 16 of the Timberwolves' 24 free throws himself. There was also a stretch where Jaden McDaniels scored a bunch, an early stretch where Naz Reid hit a bunch of threes. He finished with 20 points off the bench with 6 made threes. Julius Randle had 27, 7, and 7. And again, a well-balanced offensive attack, almost taking turns carrying the offense over the course of the game. The defense was a bit spotty for the Wolves, a lot of paint points for Memphis. The perimeter defense for Minnesota was a little lackadaisical, but just not enough firepower for the Grizzlies. And the Wolves pulled away middle of the fourth quarter to win this one by 17.
All right, Grizzlies side now 6 losses in a row. Let's hear Joe Mullinax's explanation. Presumably has to do with all their injuries.
The Memphis Grizzlies lost the basketball game on Saturday night. They've won 3 games for the entire month of January, and finally, I'm thrilled about it. I'm Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and you'll have to forgive me. It's taken a little bit of time to come to this conclusion that this is where the Memphis Grizzlies have probably wanted to be for some time, and it is certainly where they want to be now, in the full tanking mindset. And I'm trying to get on board. I really am. You have Ty Jerome making his team debut on a very strict minutes restriction, looking the part of a guy that can be the bridge starting point guard when the rookie that gets drafted in the upcoming draft is coming along. The end of the Ja Morant era continues to appear to be nigh, whether it's at the trade deadline this coming week or this offseason, whatever the case might be. It looks like Memphis has chosen their direction. Maybe not the way that I would do it, but the way that it has been chosen is at least a way to move forward. I'm getting used to it. The Grizzlies lost. Hooray.
The Grizzlies as good at drafting as any team in the NBA. I love that video. I love that take from Joe. If you want to check out Koo, be sure to subscribe to the Locked on Pistons podcast, wherever podcasts can be found. Same for me over at Locked on Knicks. And of course, you can catch Locked on NBA Game Night every game, every night. It's all in the description. But until next time, we'll talk to you soon right here on Locked on NBA Game Night.